Was this close to beating a chess master at chess. I enjoy playing chess, and if you've been watching my recent videos, you may have caught on to that by now. My dad taught me how to play chess when I was a kid, and I really enjoyed learning the game and playing with him from time to time. But then throughout my teen years, I hardly played at all. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I picked it up again in the form of playing on lichess.org. I mostly play just to have fun, but occasionally I'll look for professional chess players' videos to try to learn some new openings or tactics or something like that. That's how I happened to find Eric Rosen. Eric is an international master, and he creates chess content on Twitch and YouTube. And I really like all his content. He's a really great guy. He's super chill, and oh yeah, he's also really good at chess. I like him so much that I actually drew a portrait of him for one of my drawing prompts last year. But yeah, if you're looking for chess content, I honestly can't recommend his content enough. Definitely check him out. I'll leave some descriptions in the down below. Eric sometimes does live streams on Twitch where he accepts viewer challenges, which is what allowed me to play against him 4 different times. And in the game we're about to look at, I came as close to beating him as I probably ever will. Eric, like I mentioned, is an international master, which is just one level below Grandmaster, and basically translates to he's really, really good at chess. I, on the other hand, at the time, my Lichess rating was 1600, which translates to meh, I'm okay, but mostly pretty bad. Basically, for me to even have a chance at beating Eric, I would need something to go very right for me and very wrong for him. Let's look at the game. This was a timed game in which we each had 5 minutes, and I had the white pieces, which means that I go first. I started with e4, and he responded with d5, which I think is called the Scandinavian defense. I took his pawn, he played knight f6, I played d4, and then he played bishop g4, attacking my queen. I blocked with my bishop, and we traded bishops, and then he took back the pawn. So I was temporarily up a pawn, but now we're back to equal material. I castled, he played knight c6, I played knight c3, he moved his queen out of the way, I attacked his queen again, and he moved it again, and here I saw he's attacking this pawn twice, so I pushed it forward and attacked his knight. Here he simply castled queenside, which didn't allow me to take the knight anymore because of this pin. I would lose my queen. So I moved my queen out of that pin, but he played knight to d4, attacking my queen and attacking this pawn, so I had to move my queen here to defend this pawn. And then he played e5. Here I played knight to f5, attacking his queen and basically forcing him to trade knights here. I'm not sure that it was a great move for me, but up until this point, I hadn't made any major mistakes or blunders. I definitely hadn't played the best move in every situation, but this was move 13, no major blunders, so that was actually doing pretty well for me. Don't worry, my next move was a huge blunder. I played bishop to g5, thinking that this was a double attack on his queen and his knight. And I was thinking, like, say he moves his queen away, and I can take the knight, and then he'll have to take back. I can take his pawn, and here we basically have an XQC wooden shield where we're attacking both rooks and this pawn, and it looked really great. But of course, this didn't happen in the game. I missed a very simple move, queen to h5 here, and now my bishop can't take the knight because then I lose my queen. And actually, I'm about to lose my bishop because h3 is coming, or h6 is coming. So I didn't know what to do. I played h3 to prepare g4 to try to attack the queen, and that is what happened. But so I was thinking, if he can't take with his pawn now because I'll take his queen, but he just took my bishop with his queen. We ended up trading queens, and here I'm just down a bishop. I wanted to defend this pawn, so I moved my rook to D1. And the next move really confused me, because after he played it, I'm like, oh yeah, my pawn on H3 was hanging. Why didn't he take the pawn on H3? I thought it might be a mouse slip or something, but I'm like, oh well, let's defend the pawn now so he can't take it next move. And after bishop D6, I played A4, and he doubled up his rooks to attack this pawn more, and I moved my rook here to defend. So at this point, I'm down a bishop. I feel like I'm playing from behind. I'm out of options. But Eric's next move here shocked me. Bishop to A3. Turns out, Eric was playing blindfolded, which means he couldn't see the board at all, and he was just typing his moves into the computer, and the computer was reading my moves to him. Now, before this move, he misheard what the computer said, and he thought my rook was on A3. He thought he was taking my rook. Instead, he just gave me back a bishop. So up until this point, I thought I was losing, but now I had some hope again. And in this position here, or after I took the bishop, Eric it was having trouble with his computer. It was lagging or something, and he was completely confused. So he ended up taking the blindfold off, and from here on he played without the blindfold. But he spent a minute and a half trying to figure out what was going on. So not only did I equalize material, I now had a huge time advantage. Eric was down to just 53 seconds, and I still had a minute and a half. So play continued here, and after a few more trades, after trading knights and a pair of rooks, the computer says I'm actually winning here. Eric's rook is kind of stuck, and mine's out in the open, and it can go all over the place and take stuff. So I started to get excited. I'm like, I'm going to beat Eric Rosen. But then after a few more moves, I managed to give up a pawn, and here, basically we are equal again, and I wasted any advantage that I had. He was down to 18 seconds at this point, and I still had over a minute left. So I definitely should have been able to win the game just on time. But as the game got closer and closer to the end, I started getting more and more nervous. My hands were shaking. I'm thinking, I can beat Eric Rosen. I can beat Eric Rosen. We continued. I put his king in check. I put his king in check again. He put my king in check. I moved. He started running his A pawn up the board. I checked his king. I checked his king. I checked his king. And he kept getting closer and closer to making a queen. I took a pawn. And here, he's so close to making a queen, so I had to move my rook here to defend. And at this point, he only had 4 seconds left, and he was moving so fast that he was doing pre-moves and stuff, that instead of taking my rook, he moved his king away. So again, I was winning in this position. He had 4 seconds left, I still had 14. He was moving so fast, my hands were shaking. I tried to run this pawn up the board, and here I really made the mistake of keeping my king in front of my rook, and in a couple more moves he put my king in check. I had to move out of the way, and he won my rook, and in a few more moves he ended up taking my last 2 pawns, and believe it or not, in this position I ran out of time. His experience and speed came through in the end, and I don't know, my slowness and nervousness just kicked in too much. I just couldn't move the pieces fast enough, and I lost on time. I think this game is a good indication of just how much better someone like Eric is than someone like me when it comes to chess. Even with all his disadvantages, playing blindfolded and making 2 or 3 moves that were really bad, he still ended up winning the game. Still, it was really fun to come that close to beating Eric, and who knows, maybe one day in the future we'll have a rematch and I'll win for real. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to see the game from Eric's perspective, definitely check out this video, Broken Blindfold Chess. He was actually live streaming at the time, so you can watch that whole game. And yeah, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.